The sun had barely risen when Xiao Zhan awoke with that familiar feeling again, the strange tug in his chest that had been haunting him for months. It was like a half-remembered melody, a fragment of a dream, a whisper that called his name from somewhere beyond memory. Every morning, the sensation grew stronger, and every morning he brushed it aside, convincing himself it was nothing. But deep inside, he knew that something or someone was missing. Across the city, Wang Yibo stood at the edge of a rooftop, staring at the skyline as the wind toyed with the strands of his hair. His fingers tapped rhythmically against the railing, not from anxiety, but from an unexplainable longing that had rooted itself deep in his soul. A longing for someone he didn't remember, yet somehow felt connected to. It was maddening, like trying to recall a dream right after waking up, knowing it was important, but finding only fog where memories should be. The two men lived separate lives in separate worlds, unaware that their fates were woven together by a bond so powerful, even time itself struggled to erase it. Their story had begun years before, though neither could remember it now. A hidden tragedy, a fragmented promise, and a love strong enough to defy everything, even the erasure of memory. But destiny, stubborn and relentless, never forgets. It always leads hearts back to where they belong. That was what happened on the cold night of the annual Lantern Festival. The streets were filled with golden lights floating toward the sky, carrying wishes of thousands. The world glowed with warmth, laughter, and the soft crackle of fireworks. Xiao Zhan, bundled in a black coat and scarf, wandered through the celebration with a strange pull guiding his steps. Every lantern he saw, every flicker of flame, made his heart beat faster, like something within him was waking up. At the same moment, Wang Yibo moved through the heart of the crowd, expression unreadable but his eyes searching. Searching for what he didn't know. Until he spotted a single lantern drifting upward, bright red with gold strokes, unlike any he had ever seen. His breath hitched. He didn't know why it mattered, but it did. As the lantern floated higher, drifting toward the bridge, Yibo began following it unconsciously. Xiao Zhan, walking on that very same bridge, looked up as the lantern neared him. For a moment, just a moment, everything around them slowed. The laughter faded, the music softened, and the soft glow of the lantern illuminated his face in a way that made the world hold its breath. Then their eyes met, and something exploded inside them both. A jolt, sharp, electric, familiar. Xiao Zhan froze where he stood, unable to breathe. Wang Yibo stopped walking, his heart hammering so hard it felt like it might crack his ribs. Neither spoke, neither blinked. Yet in that fleeting second, something ancient stirred within each of them. Memory drip, spark, fragment, a whisper. You promised you'd find me, even if time erased everything. Xiao Zhan's hand trembled. He didn't understand why tears were suddenly pricking his eyes. He didn't know this man, and yet he did. Somewhere deep inside, their souls recognized each other with terrifying clarity. Wang Yibo approached slowly, as though drawn by an invisible thread. When he finally stood before Xiao Zhan, he swallowed hard and murmured, "Do we know each other?" The question hit Xiao Zhan like thunder. He opened his mouth to respond, but before he could speak, an explosion of fireworks lit up the night sky, casting vibrant colors across the river. And with that burst of light, the fragile thread of recognition snapped, leaving only confusion behind. Xiao Zhan blinked, as though waking from a trance. Yibo exhaled shakily, the echo of connection slipping through his fingers like sand. People brushed past them. Lanterns floated away. The world resumed its rhythm. But nothing, absolutely nothing, felt the same. Over the next days, Xiao Zhan found himself unable to focus. His sketches became erratic, filled with the silhouette of a man he couldn't remember but couldn't forget. Sharp jawline, intense eyes, wind-tousled hair. A presence that haunted him like a ghost. Meanwhile, Wang Yibo retreated into his private studio, surrounded by dance mirrors and dim lights. Every movement he made was sharper, more emotional, as though he was dancing out a story he had lived but couldn't recall. His dance partners whispered behind his back, calling his choreography too haunting, too painful, too raw, but Yibo couldn't stop. Because the moment on the bridge kept replaying in his mind like an unfinished melody. He didn't know Xiao Zhan's name, but he remembered his eyes. Those eyes, they felt like home. Fate, mischievous and persistent, refused to let them drift apart again. A week after the festival, Xiao Zhan received a call from the museum where he worked as a creative consultant. They had a last-minute emergency. Their featured performer for the upcoming Gala of Memories had backed out. They needed someone immediately. Someone whose artistic aura could complement Xiao Zhan's visual storytelling. "His name is Wang Yibo," the director said casually. Xiao Zhan nearly dropped his phone. When the day of the gala arrived, Xiao Zhan stood backstage, adjusting the lighting and display screens for his memory-themed art installation. His hands shook, though he told himself it was because of the tight schedule. His heart argued otherwise. When Wang Yibo entered, wearing a simple black outfit that hugged his figure with elegant precision, Xiao Zhan felt the air leave his lungs. Their eyes met again, this time without lanterns, without fireworks, without crowds. Just raw, unfiltered recognition. Wang Yibo inhaled sharply. "It's you." Xiao Zhan nodded slowly. "I don't know why, but seeing you feels like remembering something important." "I feel the same," Yibo whispered. Silence wrapped around them, not empty but full of 1,000 unspoken truths. They stepped closer unintentionally, drawn by an instinct deeper than memory. When they were only inches apart, Yibo reached out hesitantly and lifted Xiao Zhan's hand. A shock ripped through them both. Not metaphorically. Literally. A flash, blinding but brief, pierced their minds. Suddenly, images crashed into them. A broken temple under a silver moon. A promise whispered in the rain. Fingers intertwined. Tears. Kiss. A vow. No matter how many times time resets. "I will find you." Xiao Zhan staggered back, gasping. Wang Yibo's knees nearly buckled. They stared at each other, trembling, breathless, overwhelmed. "What was that?" Xiao Zhan whispered. "Our lost memory," Yibo murmured. The gala began, but neither could focus. Every glance they shared triggered more fragments of forgotten moments, running through forests, hiding from someone, clinging to each other as thunder roared overhead, laughing in sunlit gardens, touching foreheads under starlight. They had lived this before, loved before, lost before. And now, destiny was reconnecting the pieces. When Wang Yibo stepped onto the stage for his performance, the crowd silenced instantly. The music began, soft, melancholic, swirling with emotion. His movements were fluid, sharp, desperate, tender, all at once. Because he wasn't performing. He was remembering. And with each step, each spin, each reach toward the sky, memories burst within him like fireworks. The air backstage was still buzzing with the energy of Wang Yibo's performance. The applause from the audience echoed faintly behind the curtains, but Xiao Zhan's heartbeat drowned it out completely. His chest felt tight, not in a painful way, but in that overwhelming, breathtaking way of remembering something precious after believing it lost forever. Wang Yibo approached him slowly, each step deliberate, almost cautious, like he was afraid the moment would shatter if he moved too quickly. His eyes were intense, stormy, questioning, hopeful. "Xiao Zhan," he whispered. The sound of his name on Yibo's lips ignited another flicker of memory inside him. Not a clear image, just a feeling. Warmth. Safety. Soft laugh. Someone holding his hand in the dark and saying, "I'm here. Always." Xiao Zhan swallowed hard. "Why does it feel like we've lived this before?" Yibo exhaled shakily. "Because we have." He didn't say it with certainty. He said it with instinct, with something deeper than belief, something soul deep. The two of them stood there, inches apart, as the world around them blurred. Lights dimmed, voices faded. All that remained was the unbreakable pull between them. Suddenly another memory flashed, so vivid it made Xiao Zhan gasp. He saw himself standing in a rainstorm, drenched, shivering, crying. And through the rain, Wang Yibo was running toward him, shouting his name. Zhan! Don't disappear, stay with me. The memory was gone as quickly as it came. But Xiao Zhan felt the echo of that cry inside his bones. He pressed a hand to his chest, trembling. Yibo immediately stepped closer, worry tightening his features. What did you see? Xiao Zhan looked up, voice barely a whisper. Ooh. Calling my name like you were losing me. Wang Yibo's breath caught, and in that instant, he too reeled as another memory hit him. The two of them sitting under cherry blossoms, pink petals falling around them like gentle snow. Xiao Zhan had leaned on his shoulder and whispered, "If one day we forget everything, promise you'll remember the feeling." And Yibo had replied, "Even if memories vanish, my soul won't." The scene dissolved, but the emotion lingered. Powerful, haunting, undeniable. Yibo blinked, stunned. "I think we made a promise. A long time ago." Before either of them could process it, a gust of cold air swept in from the side door, making them both shiver. The stage crew moved around them, busy clearing equipment, but Xiao Zhan and Yibo remained frozen in their own world. Xiao Zhan glanced down, noticing that their hands, without them realizing, had drifted dangerously close. His fingers brushed Yibo's lightly, and instantly another shockwave of memory ripped through them both. This time they saw the same moment together. Candlelit room. Their hands intertwined. Xiao Zhan whispering through tears, "If time steals our memories, let love lead us back." Then darkness. Silence. A feeling of being pulled apart. Xiao Zhan staggered. Yibo caught him before he fell, gripping his arms tightly. "That wasn't a dream," Yibo murmured, his voice rough. "That was real. We loved each other before." Xiao Zhan's breath trembled as he stared into Yibo's eyes. Eyes he recognized not with memory, but with his soul. "But why did we forget?" he whispered. Yibo shook his head slowly. "Something happened. Something that separated us. Something powerful enough to erase everything. Except the feeling." A chill ran down Xiao Zhan's spine. The feeling. That was the one thing that never faded. Yibo helped him stand upright, his hands lingering for a second longer than necessary. His touch was warm, familiar, comforting in a way that defied logic. Suddenly the director called out, "Yibo, we need you for the post-performance photo session." Yibo looked torn. Leaving now felt like ripping apart something sacred. "Go," Xiao Zhan said softly. "I'll be here." Yibo hesitated, searching Xiao Zhan's eyes for confirmation, then nodded reluctantly. "Don't disappear," he whispered, a trace of fear in his voice. Xiao Zhan felt his heart stutter. "I won't." As Yibo walked away, Xiao Zhan watched him, each step, each movement, each breath. And the strangest thing happened. He remembered how Yibo walked. Not from recent observation, but from before. From long ago. After the photo session, Yibo returned with urgency, eyes scanning the area until they landed on Xiao Zhan again. Relief washed over his face. Without thinking, Yibo reached for Xiao Zhan's hand. Their fingers interlocked perfectly. Perfectly. As though they had done it 1,000 times before. Xiao Zhan felt warmth rush through him, sharp and sweet, making his chest ache. Yibo squeezed his hand gently, eyes never leaving his. "I don't want to wait anymore," Yibo said quietly. "We need to know what happened to us. Why we forgot. Why our memories are coming back now." Xiao Zhan nodded. "We'll find out. Together." And once again, the moment they promised that, the world around them flickered. Just for a second. As though reality itself acknowledged their vow. Later that night, they walked outside the building, the cold wind cutting across their faces. The city lights shimmered like scattered stars across the streets. But the world felt different now. Alive, pulsing, aware. Yibo glanced at Xiao Zhan. "Does it scare you?" Xiao Zhan considered the question carefully. "The memories. The connection. Well, what scares me," he paused, "is losing it again." Wang Yibo stopped walking, turned fully toward him, and took both of Xiao Zhan's hands in his. "Listen to me," he said softly. "I don't care what we forgot. I don't care how many lifetimes we lived. I don't care how many times the universe resets." His voice dropped, steady and sure. "I will find you in every single one." Xiao Zhan's throat tightened. His eyes burned. Time froze. Cars passed. People moved around them. But their world had narrowed to 2 heartbeats and one undeniable truth. They belonged to each other, memory or not. A soft snow began to fall, tiny flakes landing gently on their hair and shoulders. It was beautiful, quiet, magical, like the universe painting the scene just for them. Xiao Zhan whispered, "Then don't let go." Wang Yibo shook his head slowly. "Never." And as they stood beneath the drifting snow, fingers intertwined, souls awakening, the last missing fragment of their forgotten love returned in a whisper. "You found me." Xiao Zhan smiled through his tears. "And I always will." Their foreheads touched again, gently, tenderly, an echo of a memory reborn. If you enjoyed this story continuation, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to support more amazing Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo stories on this channel.